What is going on, Bills Mafia? You're watching the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, coming at you from a little bit of a different location today. My family home in New York, home for the holidays here. But there's just so much Bills news that we have to get into. I had to bring you guys a video. They made multiple roster moves, multiple signings at key positions, and the Wednesday injury report came out with some pretty jarring stuff on that list that we'll get into in just a moment. Make sure you go down below, hit that thumbs up icon on today's video, like today's show, and give us a subscribe as well if you want free, informative, entertaining Bills content every single day. All right, the Bills went out there and made a move at wide receiver. Brandon Beane, he did it. He brought in a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Brandin Cooks, 32 years old. Not the most inspiring, but Brandin Cooks was released by the New Orleans Saints. They came to terms on a mutual departure between the two sides, and he ended up clearing waivers and deciding where he wanted to sign with, and that was in the 7-1-6 here. Now, if you're expecting Brandin Cooks to be the difference maker that he has been in his career on Super Bowl winning teams in the past, I would definitely pump the brakes a little bit here. He has yet to record a game so far this season with 30 receiving yards. Now, can you point to the passing offense in New Orleans for that? I mean, the quarterback play, can you point to the sheer number of weapons that they have in that offense and how little attempts that they're throwing on a week-to-week basis? Like, you have Chris Olave, you had Rashid Shaheed, and Brandin Cooks was clearly at least 3 on that receiving pecking order there. So he decided, and the Saints decided, to have a mutual parting of ways, and now he lands in Buffalo here. This is a player who, every stop of his career, has made a big-time impact. He has 4 different instances on 4 different teams recording 1,000-yard seasons. He had 8 touchdowns just 2 years ago. You got to go back to 2023 for the last real semblance of good football from Brandin Cooks here, at least productive football. He had over 600 yards with the Dallas Cowboys that year, had 8 touchdowns as well. I mean, if he could replicate any sort of pace like that for the home stretch of the season, I think Bills fans will be really, really okay with that. Like, that will help this team a whole heck of a lot. Now, I wouldn't say we should expect him to transform the offense or turn it into this Super Bowl favorite type of unit, but he is going to go out there and make a difference. Now, we did see him for the first time on Wednesday, working out in practice, slowly being integrated and all that stuff. He's got to learn the playbook, but like I said, he's an easily adaptable player, super coachable, and just has been a baller every single stop of his NFL career. But like I said before as well, he is 32 years old. He has a concussion history. He has an injury history in general in this league, so that cannot be ignored when you talk about this signing. I wouldn't expect him to make a huge impact this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers with him being brand new to the offense and all that stuff, but we could see a couple of snaps out there for him for sure. Just tell him to run a slant or a 10-yard out and get some separation, because he can still do that in this league. One of the best route runners, good hands as well. I mean, he takes a lot of hits in his career, so he's a tough physical player as well. But as for this week against Pittsburgh, I would say expect a little bit more Gabe Davis, Josh Palmer as well, maybe even Keon Coleman. We'll talk about the wide receiver room in just a little bit, because the Bills also made a corresponding move at wide receiver. Before we get into who was cut by Buffalo, grade the signing of Brandin Cooks down for me in the comment section. A, B, C, D, or F. Do you guys think it's an impact move? Let me know down below. So the corresponding move that Brandon Beane had to make is a release of a player here, and he decided to release Elijah Moore, who never really, I guess found his footing in Buffalo this season, was brought on late in the offseason, wasn't all the way, integrated when this season began, and he hasn't really been utilized as a guy who is a difference maker in this offense. Kind of been relegated to screens. Has he really done much with those opportunities? Not really. I think I can only point to one connection between he and Josh Allen on a vertical downfield passing route, and it's one of those things where maybe he's just is not a fit here, and maybe he's still young enough, still has enough potential to go make an impact somewhere else. So those two mutually decided to part ways as well, with the Bills bringing in Brandin Cooks. Now we'll talk a little wide receiver before we get to their next signing here. Keon Coleman stuff. It's crazy, man. I don't know if you guys saw the Sean McDermott presser from early this week, where he was talking about Keon Coleman and the fact that the second straight benching, the second healthy scratch in week 12 against Houston was not because of discipline. It was because of it being a short week and him not getting. This guy's not even hurt. He's not hurt. So why does a short week matter when in terms of bringing Keon Coleman back into the fold? I think Sean McDermott is beating around the bush here with this Keon Coleman stuff. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Doesn't need to be on the football team after the season. Trade him for whatever you can get. Let's talk about this next signing for Buffalo here. Shaq Lawson. I mean, unbelievable. Bringing this guy back for a third time with the Buffalo Bills. A classic Brandon Beane rehash here. A retread with Lawson joining Buffalo here. His third stint. He was drafted by the Bills back in 2016 with the 19th overall pick out of Clemson. He appeared in 81 games for Buffalo during his career. 24 starts. Has been a solid rotational pass rusher, but really has never lived up to the true hype of a first-round pick in this league, especially a first-round edge rusher. He was with the Panthers in 2024, only ended up, I believe, playing one game for them. Worked out for the Seahawks back in September, the Colts a couple of weeks ago, and then he posted on his Instagram story just a few days ago that he was in Buffalo, and that can only mean one thing. He's going out to try out with the team, and he ended up getting a contract for the rest of the season here. He's only on the practice squad for now, but definitely expect some elevations with the Bills' defensive line being as banged up as it is week to week. Joey Bosa back on the injury report. As far as the sack numbers and the production that Shaq Lawson had during his time as a Buffalo Bill, had 2 sacks in 16, had 4 sacks in 2017, repeated that in 2018, a career high 6.5 sacks in 2019, and then his second stint with Buffalo, 2022-2023, more of a rotational guy, kind of a similar situation to where he's being signed to now, 3.5 sacks in 2022 and only 1 in 2023. So not going to be the most impact guy, but you got Michael Hoyt on IR, you have Landon Jackson on IR. AJ Epinesa has been banged up all season. Javon Solomon, his best work is on special teams. Like Greg Rousseau, nowhere to be found. He's on a missing milk carton right now. It's utterly ridiculous. And then Joey Bosa, he's got a club on his hand right now. He's still wearing that club on his wrist. So he's clearly not 100%. So you bring in Shaq Lawson here, somebody who knows the system, somebody who knows the coaching staff. What else is new with the Buffalo Bills when they bring in free agents here? So happy to see him back in the building. Hopefully he makes a couple of impact plays like we've seen another couple of guys brought back late in their NFL careers for some rehashed Bills stints, like a Jordan Phillips, like a Jordan Poyer as well this season. They've made impacts, no doubt about it. Hopefully Shaq Lawson can do the same thing. All right, we're going to talk now about injury news. But before we do, grade that signing as well. ABCDRF grade this signing of Shaq Lawson for his third time with the Buffalo Bills here in Week 13. All right, Bills injury news. This is not good, okay? Dalton Kincaid did not practice once again to open practice in Week 13. It was DNP on the Wednesday injury report, and that is just bad news. He's missed multiple, the last, 3 games now or 2.5 games now? And it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. He is a hamstring injury. I know hamstrings are really never a 1 week thing, but we're going on close to a month now with no Dalton Kincaid, and we know that he is the best pass catcher on this football team, the best separator against man coverage. He's necessarily going up against DB, or I should say outside corners out there, but he is an elite separator in the middle of the field, gets vertical as well for this passing offense that desperately lacks that type of threat. And he needs to be out there on the football field for this game when you could potentially be out your 2 starting tackles, and you have to go up against, TJ Watt and this ferocious Pittsburgh Steelers defensive front. You need Dalton Kincaid out there. Best ability is availability, and Kincaid is quietly missing a lot of time early on in his career. Terrell Bernard was deemed week to week with the elbow injury. Matt Milano ran into him with the face mask. Friendly fire with the Bills, man. It just never stops. The elbow, though, is going to be week to week per Sean McDermott, so he didn't practice on Wednesday, and it's not really looking super likely that he's going to be out there on the field on Sunday. This is a little bit more concerning, though. Spencer Brown, obviously, he said as a possibility. McDermott said that he goes on IR as well as Bernard. He did not practice with the shoulder injury that he has going on. And more offensive line troubles on the injury report here is Deion Dawkins. Yes, the left tackle for Buffalo Bills did not practice on Wednesday with concussion symptoms. So it's looking like a legitimate possibility of Ryan Vandemark and Chase Lunt as your bookend tackles for this week against TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Derek Harmon, and it doesn't matter. They have guys. The Steelers have their guys on that defensive end. More bad injury news, of course. Daquan Jones, he was dealing with an illness. Hopefully he'll be ready to go for Sunday's action. Curtis Samuel, I feel like he's always dealing with something, man. He's got an elbow and an illness thing going on. Always on the injury report, week in and week out. And then limited participants this week on Wednesday. Fidarian Mathis, the defensive tackle. Josh Palmer, the wide receiver, he is limited as well. And then Max Hairston with concussion symptoms, he is limited here. The benefit of the long week in between games here, Hairston we could potentially see not miss any time with that concussion. Now, Josh Allen showed up on the injury report as well, but it's his general soreness. No need to sound the alarms or anything like that yet. He's just sore, full participant. He should be out there ready to go for Week 13. Let's talk about the other quarterback for the opposition, though, because this is kind of troubling for Aaron Rodgers here. He's wearing a cast, and he doesn't seem ready to be under center just yet for this football team. So that's interesting to me that he is set to be ready to go, expected to play on Sunday. We'll have to be looking out for that as far as his participation goes the rest of the week in practice. He was limited on Wednesday. DK Metcalf did not practice, though, with an ankle. Or actually, no, I believe Aaron Rodgers did not practice either. So he didn't practice on Wednesday. DK didn't practice on Wednesday. Broderick Jones, their left tackle, starting left tackle for the Steelers now, he is out in this game. That is huge news, dealing with a neck injury. Very scary there. I want to make sure that he's dealing with that the best he can. But Broderick Jones, I mean, that's a big-time player for the Steelers offense. He is not going to be playing in Week 13 either. So with that being said, a lot of injuries on both injury reports here for both teams. Who you got in this one? BUF for the Bills down in the comment section. PIT for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to see how many Steel Curtain fans are out there watching today's show. That will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment on your way out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go Buffalo.